So, if your company have a practically unlimited budget, can you just buy your way into renting the Louvre Abu Dhabi for like a private corporate event?
Well, the short answer is no. Money just isn't enough there.
Right, they actually have to choose you. Welcome to the deep dive.
Yeah.
You know, when we talk about taking a corporate event or a massive summit to the UAE, our brains usually default to a very specific mental highlight reel.
Oh, absolutely. We instantly picture the massive artificial islands, the towering skyscrapers, just absolute maximum volume.
Yeah, exactly. We just lump the whole region under that one flashy, fast-paced label. But our focus today completely dismantles that assumption.
It really does. We're unpacking some fascinating material today from contributor Alina Shliakhtova. She's the head of the company Atravel.
Right.
And she wrote this incredibly insightful piece for the second issue of eventmag.me, which is a major magazine covering the MIC industry. You know, meetings, incentives, conferences, and exhibitions.
It's a very high-stakes, super specialized corner of the business world. And the mission for our deep dive today is to really figure out why Abu Dhabi operates on a completely different, almost hidden logic compared to Dubai.
Yeah, they are practically different universes. And Shliakhtova drops this one striking quote early on that I think frames this entire discussion perfectly.
Oh, I know the one you mean.
Yeah, she says, Dubai is for those who want to be seen. Abu Dhabi is for those who no longer need to be.
That is just such a wild distinction, right? It fundamentally rewrites the rules of engagement for anyone landing there. And to understand why, we really have to look at the underlying economic engines of both cities.
Precisely. I mean, Dubai was built to be this massive transport hub, a tourism engine, a trade center, and to succeed at that, you know, it had to attract outside capital.
Right, and to attract capital, you have to be highly visible. You have to be loud and, well, totally frictionless.
Exactly. But Abu Dhabi is the capital. It already sits on the vast majority of the country's oil reserves. It manages some of the largest sovereign wealth funds on the entire planet.
So it doesn't need to shout to attract capital because it basically is the capital.
Yeah, it's the exact opposite dynamic. Abu Dhabi acts as the bank, the political center, and the long-term strategist. And when you don't need to hustle for attention, your entire measure of success changes.
That makes total sense. Like in a high visibility hub, a successful event means your photos went viral on social media.
Right.
But in a sovereign capital, success means you were granted official press accreditation. You know, it means you were even allowed into the room in the first place.
And you can actually feel that shift in status in your physical body the second you transition between the two cities. The actual rhythm of the streets changes.
Oh, for sure. You go from this landscape engineered for hyperspeed movement into a city defined by like embassies, government buildings, quiet waterfronts, and all this deliberate greenery.
It's a completely different pace. And this isn't just an aesthetic choice, by the way. It governs how business is actually conducted. It starts with the language itself.
Yeah, the material goes into this, describing the traditional Arab conversation. Like, in a hyper-globalized, speed-driven market, business greetings are super compressed.
Oh, definitely. You say hello, grab a coffee, and boom, you open the agenda.
Right. But in Abu Dhabi, the elaborate greeting is like a vital piece of infrastructure. You start with Kaif Halak, how are you? Then Shuaf Barak, what's new?
Yeah, and you ask about their family, you ask about their health, their general well-being.
Exactly. And the piece notes, this can easily take 20 minutes before anyone even hints at a business proposition.
I mean, think about that from a Western perspective. If you're a corporate executive flying in from London or Tokyo with this packed itinerary—
A triple shot espresso kind of morning.
Exactly, gulped down while running to a meeting. Spending 20 minutes asking about someone's uncle's health might initially feel like a total waste of valuable business time.
Yeah, I have to push back on that a bit.
Sure.
Doesn't that drive fast-paced corporate clients crazy?
Well, sure, it might feel slow if you don't understand the rules, but looking at the sovereign wealth dynamic we just talked about, that greeting isn't just a pleasantry, it's highly deliberate.
Right, it's a test.
Exactly, it acts as a vetting mechanism. They're actively testing your temperament and your ability to operate on their timeline. It's a highly effective filter.
So it's not slow, it's just they're building something different. It's like pouring a slow drip coffee instead of chugging an espresso.
That's a great analogy. And it serves a deeper structural purpose, too. You have to ask yourself what actually enforces a high-level, multi-decade business partnership.
Right, because in a fast-paced market, you rely on aggressive legal contracts and rapid turnover.
Exactly. But in a capital city dealing with state-level financial partnerships, The relationship is the legal framework. You simply cannot fast-track trust.
Wow, yeah. So letting that 20-minute greeting live in full is like the active construction of relational collateral?
You nailed it. Deep relational trust is the ultimate luxury for high-level business. That foundation is what ensures a massive contract holds together when geopolitical or economic pressures hit.
And because the foundation of business there relies on that deep state-level trust, the venues available for these events aren't just, empty rooms with nice lighting.
Oh, not at all. They are physical extensions of that state apparatus.
Yeah, Shliakhtova's material outlines locations that completely redefine the concept of a corporate venue. Take Qasr Al Watan, for example.
Which is incredible.
It really is. We are talking about an actual functioning presidential palace. This is where real state delegations are received.
And hosting a corporate event inside a functioning presidential palace allows a company to cloak itself in the gravitas of the state.
Right.
It signals to attendees and your competitors that your organization operates at a diplomatic level. You are literally borrowing sovereign prestige.
And that is a commodity that just cannot be manufactured by an event planner, no matter the budget.
Exactly.
And then there's the Emirates Palace. The material points out that while it technically operates as a hotel, functionally, it is an institution.
The scale of it is just hard to comprehend.
It is. Like the top floor houses, 8 presidential suites that are strictly invite only. You can't just log on to a booking site and reserve them.
No, absolutely not.
But what struck me most in the source was the psychological environment they enforced through the staff. The event crew, like the people running cables and setting up tables.
Yeah.
They are actually required to follow a dress code equivalent to a government institution. We're talking covered shoulders, covered knees, even for the roadies.
That is fascinating. That mandate sends a very clear psychological signal to everyone in the building.
It really strips away that casual playground atmosphere you might find in other resort cities.
Yeah, and it replaces it with a protocol-driven environment. But Abu Dhabi is also deliberately building out this infrastructure for the long term.
Yeah.
They aren't just relying on these legacy palaces.
Right. They are constructing an entirely new cultural apparatus. The scale of the investment is just staggering.
It is. The material mentions the new Guggenheim currently under construction, Team Lab Phenomena, and the newly opened Sheikh Zayed Museum.
And there's also the Abrahamic family house, right?
Yes, which is incredible. It places a mosque, a church, and a synagogue all on a single site.
That specific project sends a massive signal to global corporate capital. It demonstrates a huge commitment to long-term stability and tolerance.
Absolutely. But out of all these cultural monoliths, the Louvre Abu Dhabi is where this entire philosophy really peaks.
Okay, yes. Let's go back to the question I posed at the very beginning of this deep dive. The idea of a company with an unlimited budget trying to rent the Louvre for an evening.
Right, the money isn't enough concept.
Exactly. The fact that the museum actively vets the client's profile completely inverts the standard hospitality model. I mean, wait, so if I have an unlimited corporate budget, I still might not be able to rent it.
That's exactly right. The Louvre Abu Dhabi doesn't need your rental fee. What they need is alignment.
How do they actually vet a corporation, though? What are they even looking for?
They evaluate the corporation through the lens of cultural diplomacy. They look at a company's environmental record, their global standing, their corporate values.
Wow.
Yeah, they basically ask whether associating with this corporate brand elevates or dilutes the museum's own sovereign prestige.
So you don't just choose the Louvre has to choose you.
Exactly. And if you pass that vetting, it is the ultimate flex for a corporation.
It tells your attendees, hey, we didn't buy our way in here. We were deemed worthy of this space.
Right. But you cannot curate that level of state-aligned exclusivity and simultaneously offer the infinite off-the-rack convenience of a mega hub.
Right. That intense exclusivity naturally acts as a bottleneck on logistics.
Right.
The quiet comes at a very tangible operational cost.
It does. The laws of supply and demand are intentionally skewed here, and the material provides this perfect case study of this friction.
The 250-person group story.
Yes. Shliakhtova recounts trying to place this 250-person group. They needed a single ballroom with 4 consecutive days of availability, to handle the setup, 2 days of conferencing, and a gala dinner.
Which sounds pretty standard for a corporate event.
It is, but they couldn't find a single uninterrupted booking in the entire city.
That is practically unheard of in a major global convention market, Normally there's just another massive hotel down the street.
Exactly. So they ended up having to move the gala dinner to the Emirates Palace.
Which, as backup plans go, is incredible.
Oh, for sure. But it requires a client who is willing to navigate serious friction and be flexible.
Right. It's like organizing an event there is akin to commissioning a custom-tailored suit rather than buying one off the rack. It requires more lead time, more patience.
That's a perfect way to put it. And the limitations extend far beyond just hotel ballrooms. The material notes that securing a private yacht for an event is incredibly difficult.
Yeah, apparently many yachts in Abu Dhabi simply aren't available for charter.
And that ties directly back to the economic engines we discussed earlier. In a trade-driven economy, luxury assets are heavily leveraged, right?
Sure, owners charter their yachts to offset mooring fees and maintenance costs.
Exactly. But in a sovereign wealth economy, the people who own those yachts have zero financial motivation to hustle for rental income. The asset is purely personal.
It makes complete sense when you look at the macroeconomics. But it's not just yachts. Even the audio-visual equipment often has to be physically trucked in from Dubai, which is like an hour-and-a-half drive away.
Yeah, and add to that a significantly quieter nightlife scene, and it paints a picture of a destination that requires serious effort to unlock.
So if AV gear is an hour-and-a-half away and I can't even rent a yacht, why would an event planner willingly choose to take on all these headaches?
Well, this logistical friction operates kind of like two-factor authentication for corporate events. The headaches filter out the casual players.
Oh, I love that. Two-factor authentication.
Yeah, because the organization's drawn to Abu Dhabi, the semi-government structures, large global corporations with strict protocol. They don't care about nightclubs.
Right.
They don't use easily charterable yachts as their metric for a successful event. They value security, status, and control.
So for that specific target audience, trucking in AV gear is just an irrelevant background detail. They are willingly trading off-the-shelf convenience for a gated community of prestige.
Exactly. Turning a scheduling conflict into a dinner at the Emirates Palace is exactly the kind of constraint turned into an advantage that defines the whole Abu Dhabi experience.
But that two-factor authentication does more than just filter out the wrong clients, doesn't it?
Yeah.
When the system faces a massive, unexpected shock, that bespoke environment suddenly turns into an impenetrable safety net.
It completely changes the equation when things go wrong. Because it operates on personal relationships and civic duty rather than volume, its approach to crisis management is entirely unique.
And Shliakhtova's material outlines two very intense crisis management case studies that prove this beautifully.
Yes, the crisis studies. That's where you really see the difference. Crisis management strips away the marketing and reveals whether a destination views you as a transactional revenue stream or a strategic partner.
Okay, so the first story takes place in February 2020. The organizers are managing their first truly massive group, 350 people. The news is just starting to murmur about this novel virus, but borders are still open.
It was a chaotic time everywhere.
Totally. It was a last-minute booking. The city was packed. They desperately needed the Ritz-Carlton ballroom, and according to the source, they actually managed to pull it away from an Indian wedding that was eyeing the exact same dates.
Which, by the way, navigating that kind of venue conflict requires deep local leverage. But the real vulnerability in that story was the arrival logistics.
Oh, absolute nightmare.
Yeah.
The attendees had booked their own flights, which resulted in them arriving across 5 different points. 5. They were landing at 3 separate terminals at Dubai International Airport, plus Al Maktoum Airport, plus the old Abu Dhabi Airport.
I mean, any logistics professional listening to this understands the pure horror of decentralized arrivals on that scale.
Yeah.
When you have 350 people independently navigating 5 different entry points in a foreign country, the probability of a cascading schedule failure is incredibly high. It requires flawless synchronization of ground transport.
Well, somehow they coordinated the arrivals,
Yeah.
transferred everyone successfully, and over 2 days executed this massive conference, a gala dinner, a tour of Qasr Al Watan, and a Jeep safari. Everything ran perfectly.
Which is an operational miracle.
Right. And then 2 weeks later, the UAE closed its borders. They essentially executed a flawless operational ballet on the edge of a cliff. But the second story is where the philosophy of Abu Dhabi really separates itself from the rest of the world.
Yeah, this was the moment the airspace actually shut down globally.
The organizers had a group stranded in the city. Flights are grounded, global strikes are breaking out everywhere, and the attendees are, understandably, completely panicking.
It was unprecedented.
So Shliakhtova reaches out directly to the Department of Culture and Tourism Abu Dhabi, the DCT. Now, usually dealing with a government tourism board during a crisis means filling out digital forms and getting auto replies. What did the DCT do differently here?
Well, because most tourism boards operate as municipal marketing departments, they point you to a website. But here, the DCT representative didn't do that. She physically drove to the hotel to meet with the group's leaders in person.
Wow, in person.
Yeah, she bypassed all the bureaucracy to bring calm to a panicking room.
That human element is so powerful, but the financial response is what completely defies standard logic to me.
That's astounding.
The Abu Dhabi Tourism Board made an Emirate-level decision to cover full accommodation and 3 meals a day for all stranded guests throughout their forced delay. Whether a guest was stuck for 1 extra day or 4 extra days, the tourism board just absorbed the entire cost.
Every single dime.
How does the government even justify that? Usually, municipal budgets require layers of ROI analysis before spending money on a private corporate group.
Well, that's the thing. It wasn't municipal budgeting, it was sovereign statecraft. And the source emphasizes that the DCT didn't just do this for this one specific group because they had good connections.
Wait, really?
Yeah, this was the blanket policy for all stranded guests in the Emirate at that time. They didn't run a cost-benefit analysis on the marketing value of buying people dinner. They invoked the tradition of Arab hospitality on a sovereign scale because, simply put, it was the right thing to do.
When a destination acts as a safety net of that magnitude, when they treat your stranded corporate executives as personal guests of the state, the business relationship is permanently altered. You don't shop around for cheaper venues after a government does that for you.
Exactly. It cements lifelong business partnerships. It guarantees generational loyalty. The friction of the daily logistics we talked about earlier, it's completely offset by the absolute security provided during a crisis.
Which brings us back to the core realization of this deep dive. We started by challenging the reflex of viewing the UAE as one monolithic, neon-lit playground. And what Alina Shliakhtova's material proves is that Abu Dhabi doesn't try to be Dubai, and that is its greatest strength. It is a destination that truly knows its own identity. It's quiet, it's status-driven, deeply supportive, and unapologetically itself.
And that identity proved incredibly resilient. Think about it. During the pandemic, when the global tourism machine just ground to a halt, Abu Dhabi's core audience, internal corporate events, government structures, protocol-driven local companies, they didn't evaporate.
Yeah, their demand shifted, but the foundation held.
Because it was built on sovereign reality, not passing tourism trends.
That resilience and the deliberate friction required to access it really leaves us with a fascinating dilemma about the future of how we do business. I mean, look at us. We are moving incredibly fast toward a global economy dominated by AI, remote work, and completely borderless, frictionless digital transactions.
We are engineering every single drop of friction out of our daily business lives.
Exactly. Which brings us to our final thought.
Yeah, it raises the ultimate question for you to ponder. As business becomes fully automated, hyper-remote, and infinitely scalable, what happens to the value of human trust?
That's a huge question.
If we reach a point where every transaction is digital and anonymous, cities like Abu Dhabi, which demand you sit down for 20 minutes just to look someone in the eye and say hello, might not be relics of the past. They might represent the only places left where genuine, unhackable trust can actually be established.
That is a profound angle to look at it from. As digital noise and frictionless transactions become completely commoditized, the slow physical friction of building trust might become the most expensive and sought-after premium in the world.
I truly believe that.
So the next time a colleague suggests the UAE for an event, and your brain immediately fires up that highlight reel of loud parties and infinite scale, pause for a second. Ask yourself if your company really needs the loudest room in the world, or if what you actually need is the security of a gated community, surrounded by the kind of state-level context that money alone simply cannot buy.
Food for thought.
Thanks for joining us for this deep dive. Take that thought with you, and we'll catch you next time.